During the second semester of senior year, the daughter of the richest family, Emily Carter, confessed her love to her childhood friend, Ryan Williams. He didn't accept. Instead, he came to me, someone who had always quietly liked him, and confessed his feelings publicly. I thought he was sincere. Believing him, I naively followed him into his reckless lifestyle, letting my grades plummet. I completely fell from the pedestal of being a top student. By the time we graduated, Ryan and Emily announced their relationship publicly. That's when I overheard him belittling me to her. He found me journal and read the cruel truth. I had liked he for over a decade, but to him, I was nothing more than a pathetic lapdog. Who would genuinely like someone like that? He had written, I only got together with her to make sure she'd give up her university admission spot for you. I promised your parents that I wouldn't let her ruin your grades. If I couldn't even do that, how could they possibly let you marry me? I stumbled through my days in a fog, until one day, I was hit by a truck. The pain was unimaginable, searing through me, but my final thought wasn't regret for my death. It was fury, anger that I hadn't slapped that bastard when I had the chance. When I opened my eyes again, it was the day of Ryan's public confession. There he was, standing in front of me, holding a bouquet of flowers, his face full of affection. Without a second thought, I slapped him hard across the face. Ryan Williams had confessed to me during lunch break. It was the busiest time, with plenty of students around to witness the scene. He suddenly rushed out of the crowd, scattering rose petals from his pocket onto the floor. Dropping to one knee, he held out a bouquet of baby's breath. Sarah, he said, his voice passionate, I love you. Please be my girlfriend. Kneeling amidst the scattered pink petals, he looked up at me expectantly. Around us, students, eager for some drama to spice up their monotonous high school lives, started cheering and teasing. I stared into his eyes, which brimmed with what seemed like sincerity, but all I felt was a cold chill of disgust. If I hadn't already relived this moment, I might have fallen for his performance again. We were both orphans, growing up in the same orphanage. We studied together, worked part-time jobs together, and relied on each other to get through tough times. In my past life, I had been infatuated with him. I eagerly accepted his confession, even vowing under the disapproving gaze of my teacher to stay by his side forever. After that, he started dragging me along to skip classes, passing me notes during lectures, and even suggesting before graduation that we experience the joy of being adults. My grades tanked, and every time I tried to focus on my studies, he conveniently appeared to pull me back down. Back then, I foolishly believed that love could conquer all. I ignored my teacher's warnings, even fantasizing about marrying him after graduation. Looking back now, I can't believe how utterly stupid I was. After we graduated, Ryan announced his engagement, not to me, but to Emily Carter, the same girl who had confessed to him. When I saw the post on social media, I ran to confront him, but I stopped when I overheard their conversation through the door. They were discussing wedding plans. Ryan's tone was full of disdain when he mentioned me. She's just a lapdog. I only got close to her to make sure she wouldn't distract you. Ruining her future was just a lesson. Early relationships are a bad idea. If it helped you succeed, then it was worth it. I promised your parents I wouldn't let her affect your studies. If I couldn't even do that, how could they trust me to marry their precious daughter? Emily giggled, pouting playfully. You two were childhood friends, and you even dated for 6 months. She must mean something to you. Right. Ryan laughed mockingly. Never. I don't even remember how I left that place. I didn't have the courage to burst in or slap him. The next thing I knew, a truck had plowed into me. The pain was excruciating, but all I could think about was how I hadn't slapped him when I had the chance. Now, as I watched Ryan kneeling in front of me, trying to kiss the back of my hand, I didn't hesitate. My hand shot out, delivering a slap that seemed to cross time and space. He froze, stunned, before forcing a smile. Sarah, are you nervous? He asked, awkwardly shoving the bouquet into my arms and leaning in to hug me. I kneed him in the groin and followed it up with another slap. As he crumpled to the ground, I looked down at him coldly. I don't like you. I will never agree to date you. From now on, stay away from me. I've already cut ties with you over the past month. Why don't you understand that? I glanced around at the crowd. This show's over. Go back to whatever you were doing. The confidence Ryan had shown during his confession evaporated, and the surrounding students were equally stunned. After all, everyone knew how much I used to like Ryan Williams. I had followed him everywhere, practically glued to his side. Even though I had kept my distance over the past month, no one expected this. Ryan thought it was just a minor spat between us. Even if I had rejected him, surely I didn't need to humiliate him like that. Climbing awkwardly to his feet, his face darkened with anger, his eyes flashing with malice as he glared at me. Sarah, have I spoiled you too much? Did I give you the wrong idea that you can push me around like this? His voice dripped with arrogance as he continued. Let me tell you something. I confess to you because you're a girl. If you don't agree this time, there might not be another chance. You're just an orphan. Who else would want you besides me? His tone reeked of self-importance, and a smug expression spread across his face. He even dared to boast. I already know you like me. Just apologize now, and I'll pretend nothing happened. Standing there, full of confidence, he seemed to believe I would beg for forgiveness. After all, in all the years we'd known each other, I'd never had such a serious conflict with him. Even when he forcibly brought Emily Carter into our social circle after she transferred to our school during senior year, I had only sulked in silence for a day before reconciling with him. But this time, I merely scoffed. What's wrong with you, Ryan? Did Emily pass her narcissism on to you? You're delusional. My words were sharp, and my eyes gleamed with disdain. Yes, we're both orphans, but we're not the same. You have nothing going for you. No looks, no grades. Do you really think someone like me, who's always been at the top of the class, would ever fall for a loser like you? My words cut like a knife. The mockery in my voice pierced straight through Ryan's fragile ego. His face twisted with rage, his body trembling. Of all things, Ryan despised being mocked for his shortcomings. Yet, ironically, he had so many weaknesses that even the smallest jab could set him off. For years, I had tread carefully around his insecurities, protecting his sensitive heart. But now, I didn't care anymore. You dare to humiliate me like this? He stammered, his hand shaking as he pointed a trembling finger at me. This is all an act, isn't it? Playing hard to get. His voice grew colder, his tone laced with malice. If not for your diary spelling out how much you like me, I wouldn't have bothered with someone as desperate as you. Don't think I didn't see it. Your little pink notebook stuffed in your desk. You've been in love with me since we were kids, haven't you? Following me around like a lapdog, even spending your hard-earned money on me. God, you're so annoying. Faced with his failed confession, Ryan's desperation turned into venomous insults. He tried to salvage his shattered pride by degrading me, but there was no way I would let him regain the upper hand. I noticed a teacher approaching. Drawn by the commotion, my eyes instantly welled up with tears, my lips trembling, as I put on a defiant yet vulnerable expression. What's going on here? Why aren't you all eating lunch instead of gathering here? The teacher's stern voice broke through the tension, and most of the onlookers scattered in fear. A few bold students stayed behind, jokingly claiming they weren't hungry. I didn't bother answering. Instead, I turned and strode into the classroom, retrieving a pink notebook from the deepest corner of my desk. When I returned, the teacher had already been briefed by the remaining students on what had happened. Knowing my reputation for being obedient and well-behaved, the teacher decided to hear my side of the story first. My hands trembled as I held the notebook high, glaring at Ryan with fiery determination. This is the diary you're talking about? The one you claim is full of my so-called love for you. Ryan smirked confidently. That's the one. There's even a page filled with my name. Isn't there? Isn't that proof enough that you've been secretly in love with me? Turning to the teacher, he added earnestly, see, I'm not lying. She's been obsessed with me for years, even interfering with my studies. I only confessed to her today because I couldn't take her harassment anymore. His words were delivered with such conviction that even the teacher seemed momentarily swayed. Sarah, what's going on here? I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I opened the notebook and showed it to the crowd. The surrounding students leaned in, curious. Ryan, on the other hand, eagerly awaited the uproar of gossip and the sight of my face crumbling in humiliation. But neither happened. The students glanced at the pages, then turned back to Ryan with looks of disdain. What is this nonsense? There's nothing in here. One of the boys in our class muttered, rolling his eyes. Ryan, are you delusional or something? Ryan's triumphant smirk vanished, replaced by confusion and panic. Ryan always thought everyone liked him. The teacher sighed, a faint trace of disgust crossing their face. Ryan, having confidence is a good thing. But right now, your most important task is to focus on your studies. Stop creating trouble and distracting Sarah from hers. Look at this. Do you really think this is some kind of confession diary? This is just a notebook of wrong answers. Ryan's expression froze, his face stiffening. He rushed forward and snatched the notebook from my hands. When his eyes scanned the densely written mistakes and study notes inside, his face turned ghostly pale. This can't be. This is impossible. His voice was frantic, his expression twisted with disbelief. It was supposed to be a diary, supposed to have everything written down, proving you've been secretly in love with me. His gaze darted to me, wild with accusation. Where is it? Did you hide it? Before I could respond, the teacher and surrounding students quickly stepped between us. Compared to Ryan, who was impulsive and prone to anger, I had always been known for my excellent grades, good looks, and kind nature. It was clear who had the upper hand in the teacher's eyes. The teacher shielded me and fixed Ryan with a sharp glare. Ryan, that's enough. If I catch you bothering Sarah again, I'll recommend to the school that you be expelled. The scholarships and spots you've been granted were hard enough to secure, and they weren't given to you so you could waste time harassing other students. The teacher's words were direct and merciless. Ryan's face flushed a deep red, a mix of shame and rage making his fists clench tightly. He glared at me as though he wanted to tear me apart, but under the teacher's watchful eye, he reluctantly lowered his head. I'm sorry, teacher, he muttered. It was my fault. I apologized to Sarah. I promise this won't happen again. I watched him leave with a cold smile, his defeated figure retreating down the hallway. Some people think their plans are flawless, but unfortunately for Ryan, I've been through this before. I've been reborn, and it's been an entire month since my return. That month gave me plenty of time to prepare. For instance, the diary that dragged me into the abyss in my past life had long since been burned, replaced with a notebook full of my study mistakes. The events of that day spread quickly thanks to a few loudmouth students who had been watching the scene. Soon, the whole school was calling Ryan Narcissus, laughing at how he was like a toad dreaming of eating swan meat. People sneered at the idea that he thought someone like me had been in love with him for years. The humiliation was so intense that Ryan didn't come to school for several days. When he finally returned, it was hand in hand with Emily Carter. How did I know this? Because on his very first day back, both of them were immediately summoned to the teacher's office. Curious, I asked my seatmate what had happened. She grabbed my hand excitedly, her voice buzzing with gossip. Sarah, you missed it this morning because of the competition. Let me tell you, it's official. Ryan and Emily are together now. And get this, Emily was the one who confessed to him first. The scene was so ridiculous. It made Ryan's confession to you look like a masterpiece in comparison. He was so moved by her words that he started crying and hugged her right there. And then, she leaned closer, whispering dramatically. They kissed, right in front of the teacher. The poor guy fainted on the spot and had to be rushed to the hospital. I stared at her, stunned. You're kidding. I'm not, she insisted, nodding vigorously. They were dragged to the office by the head of the department, and I heard even he was speechless. Honestly, this whole thing is just pure comedy gold. Ryan really lives up to the nickname Narcissus. I swear, it's like he's a walking soap opera. I couldn't help but laugh. The Ryan I had known in my previous life had always been cold and reserved around me, his behavior calculated and distant. The only time he ever acted on impulse was when he tried to get intimate before finals. Now, watching him parade around with Emily as if they were the school's power couple, I felt nothing but relief. By the end of the day, the two were finally released from the teacher's office. As they walked out, the entire hallway craned their necks to watch. To everyone's surprise, Ryan and Emily exited hand in hand, posing as if they were celebrities on a red carpet. They waved at the surrounding students, smiling as if expecting applause. Are these two idiots? Someone muttered nearby. Do they seriously think they're cool? I chuckled quietly to myself. Let's see how this circus act ends. I thought. From now on, they're just my entertainment. Completely oblivious to how ridiculous they looked. Ryan and Emily continued their charade. When they passed by me, Ryan tightened his hold on Emily and smirked triumphantly. Do you regret it now? He asked, flipping his hair like some over-the-top anime villain. If you just said yes, it would have been you enjoying all of my love right now. I took a step back, pretending to avoid catching whatever disease he was exuding. No thanks. I wish you two a long and happy life together. May you have lots of kids. Maybe 8 or 9. Emily clung to Ryan's arm, giving me a saccharine smile full of false sweetness. There's no need for such blessings, she said with a coy tilt of her head. You're just jealous that I've won Ryan's love, Emily said smugly. But even if you regret it now, it's too late. As if to make a statement, she grabbed Ryan's hand and kissed him right in front of me. The exaggerated sound of the kiss echoed, and when they pulled apart, the sight of the lingering string of saliva made my stomach churn. Around us, horrified gasps erupted from the students. Oh my God! My eyes! My poor eyes! Someone groaned dramatically. Stop, please, for the love of everything, just stop. Another cried out. But Ryan and Emily clearly interpreted the outbursts as the cries of envious single people being defeated by true love. They walked away triumphantly, leaving me standing there. The truth was, I wasn't trembling from heartbreak. I was cringing so hard my toes were curling into the ground. I half joked to myself that if they kept this up, I wouldn't need to buy a house in the future. I'd have built a fortress with the sheer power of second-hand embarrassment. My classmates shot me looks of pity and curiosity. One of them finally spoke up. You seriously grew up with someone like him? Childhood friends? Really? I immediately shook my head. Absolutely not. We just lived in the same orphanage. That's all. My seatmate gave me a skeptical look. But before, weren't you? I cut them off with a glare. Don't ask. If you keep asking, then you can be his childhood friend. They wisely dropped the subject. Later that day, during the break between classes, Ryan showed up to deliver a bouquet of flowers to Emily. As they walked through the hallway, arm in arm, students passed by with expressions ranging from mild amusement to outright disdain. Emily, of course, misinterpreted every glance as admiration, holding her head high like a proud swan as she accepted the bouquet. They hugged right there in front of everyone, completely oblivious to the teacher walking by. The teacher's brows furrowed in disgust, but it was clear no one wanted to bother reprimanding them anymore. Ryan and Emily seemed to think this was a sign of approval and flaunted their love even more aggressively after that. Later, as I was heading to the library with a stack of books, I turned a corner and almost walked straight into the two of them. They were walking toward me in an awkwardly intertwined pose. Ryan's arm wrapped around Emily's waist while she clung tightly to his hand. The sight was so ridiculous I couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ryan noticed my reaction and, mistaking it for something else, straightened up with an air of superiority. He strutted over to me, his gaze sweeping disdainfully over the books in my arms. I told you, you're such a nerd. He sneered. What's the point of studying so hard? In the end, you'll still have to marry a successful man like me. He let out a cold laugh. This world belongs to men. Women like you should stick to what you're good at. Raising children. Don't bother with these silly ideas of women can hold up half the sky. It's unrealistic. I gave him a sharp, mocking look but deliberately put on a faintly dejected expression. Without saying a word, I turned and walked away. Just standing near him made me worry that his idiocy might be contagious. I didn't have time for this nonsense. I had college entrance exams to prepare for, and couldn't afford to let him drag down my IQ. Behind me, I heard Ryan and Emily burst into laughter, clearly convinced that I still harbored feelings for him. I found it exhausting how they insisted on making me part of their weird little game. Wasn't it enough that they had each other? Why did they have to include me? Later that morning, as I was sorting through some notes, Ryan approached me. For once, he wasn't glued to Emily's side. He grabbed my arm with an air of mystery and tried to pull me aside. Our classmates, ever curious, immediately crowded around the door to eavesdrop. My seatmate, clearly delighted at the potential for drama. Slipped a recording pen into my pocket. I spent good money on this. Don't waste it, he whispered with a mischievous grin. Rolling my eyes, I reluctantly followed Ryan out of the classroom. In the hallway, he put on a performance, pretending to be sincere as he reached for my hand. When I raised an eyebrow at him, he awkwardly withdrew, his expression shifting as he spoke in a low, self-righteous tone. I'm giving you another chance, he said. If you apologize to me in front of everyone and admit that you like me, I'll assume you only rejected me that day because you were shy. I'll forgive you and even give you another opportunity. I'll break things off with Emily. I snorted, rubbing my temples as the loud murmurs of our classmates floated out from the classroom. Aren't you worried about Emily getting upset if she hears you talking like this? Her family has money. After all, she's set to inherit her family's company after graduation. Ryan hesitated for a moment, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. But just as quickly, his expression softened into a look of misplaced gratitude. I knew it. I knew you still cared about me. You're even thinking about my future. His voice turned earnest. Don't worry. I'll handle everything. He paused, then added, even if I can't give you an official title, I promise you can be my mistress. Just apologize and admit you like me, and I'll treat both of you equally. In fact, I might even treat you better since, well, I can't give you the public recognition you deserve. From behind us came the unmistakable sound of someone gagging. I could feel the heat rising to my face, not from embarrassment but from the sheer absurdity of his words. If this conversation went on any longer, I was going to become the permanent subject of every class reunion joke. I quickly interrupted him. Forget it. Let's end this here. You and Emily can be together forever for all I care. I hurried back to the classroom, bracing myself for the inevitable teasing. Sure enough, my classmates wasted no time, their voices dripping with sarcasm as they mimicked Ryan's ridiculous proclamations. Isn't that our dear Narcissus little mistress? One of them drawled, spreading their arms dramatically. I love you both equally. My face burned as I sighed deeply. Cut it out already. He's driving me insane. Several of the boys nodded in agreement, one of them thumping his chest in mock bravado. Don't worry. Next time he shows up, we'll take care of it for you. I thought that might be the end of it. But, of course, I underestimated Emily. That afternoon, she showed up at my desk, looking every bit as insufferable as usual. My seatmate, resigned to the inevitable, sighed and slipped another recording pen into my pocket with a wink. With a weary sigh, I walked out to meet Emily, already exhausted by the thought of dealing with her. She stood there, head held high, looking down at me like a queen addressing her subject. Before she could launch into whatever speech she had prepared, I pulled the recording pen from my pocket and pressed play. Her face didn't change in the slightest as she listened. In fact, when it ended, she looked even more pleased with herself. Her cheeks flushed with pride as her gaze swept over me disdainfully. I really don't know what Ryan sees in someone like you, she said, her tone dripping with condescension. Flat chest. No curves. It's almost pitiful. I clenched my jaw, resisting the urge to lash out. But she wasn't done. Oh, I guess you didn't know, did you? Ryan and I have already given each other our firsts. Her voice was filled with smug satisfaction. You don't stand a chance now. I'm his first woman and the only one he'll ever need. I'm his salvation. Her smile widened. Oh, and even if he were with you, you'd just be his mistress. He told me so himself. You'd be nothing more than one of my lackeys. I stared at her, stunned into silence. The recording hadn't fazed her at all. Instead, she doubled down, flaunting her delusions with even greater enthusiasm. It was like the end of the Qing dynasty had come and gone. Yet this remnant of chaos had somehow refused to fade away. Emily mistook my stunned expression for regret. See? This is what happens when you don't cherish him. I took him away. And now you're miserable. Aren't you? Her eyes sparkled with triumph, as if my supposed heartbreak validated everything she'd done. But she was disappointed. All she could see in my expression was an overwhelming awkwardness. I was dying inside from secondhand embarrassment, my entire body shivering at the sheer absurdity of the situation. I wanted nothing more than to call the police and have them both taken away for public nuisance. fighting off a wave of revulsion. I shook myself, trying to dispel the chills running down my spine. At this point, my only thought was, can these two idiots please stay as far away from me as possible? I rolled my eyes dramatically. Please, leave me alone. Ryan, I just want to focus on my studies. I'm begging you. Let me be. Feeling utterly defeated, like a dog with its tail between its legs, I dragged myself back to the classroom. When I told my classmates what had happened, their teasing demeanor shifted to something more complex. They glanced outside, watching Emily saunter off with a smug smile, a mix of confusion and pity crossing their faces. After a long pause, my seatmate sighed. Doesn't she come from a pretty well-off family? Why does she act like she's starved for love? I nodded in agreement. Despite their taunts earlier, Emily and Ryan didn't stop pestering me. If it wasn't today, then tomorrow they'd find another reason to flaunt their so-called love, boasting about dates or whatever nonsense they were up to. Meanwhile, I poured all my energy into studying. For someone like me, the college entrance exams were my only way out, my sole path to success. Only fools like Ryan thought they could change their fate by leeching off others. I wasn't especially intelligent, but I was determined and relentless. Time passed in the blink of an eye, and soon, high school was over. Sitting in an internet cafe, my hands trembled as I checked my exam results. The number on the screen, 703, blurred before my teary eyes. I immediately shared the news with my homeroom teacher and a few close classmates. Their responses were sincere and congratulatory. On graduation day, we created a class group chat. My seatmate, for reasons beyond comprehension, added Ryan to the group, claiming, "We're all classmates." After all, of course, I knew the real reason. He just wanted front row seats to any drama. Not surprisingly, Ryan dragged Emily into the group, and the two flooded the chat with over 70 photos, including cringe-worthy morning selfies. Publicly, we congratulated them. Privately, smaller group chats lit up with snarky commentary. As people began sharing their exam scores, nearly everyone felt a sense of accomplishment, except for two individuals. Curious classmates tagged Ryan and Emily, asking about their results. After all, Emily, while not a top student, had consistently ranked in the top 100, and Ryan, thanks to my previous tutoring, was expected to at least break into the top 20, though they'd skipped the last few mock exams. No one thought they'd outright skip the college entrance exams, but neither of them responded. The silence was deafening. Then, someone dropped a bombshell in the chat. A photo of Emily, pale and clutching her stomach, surrounded by concerned adults, while Ryan, his face bruised and swollen, sat slumped nearby. Chaos erupted in the group. After some digging, a few classmates with family connections pieced together the story. Apparently, neither Emily nor Ryan had taken the exams. They'd left school early because Emily was pregnant. Initially, they had planned to keep it a secret and terminate the pregnancy. But before they could, Emily's father found out. The Carter family caught the two red-handed in a hotel room, tangled up in each other, still half-dressed. In the aftermath, Emily had a miscarriage from the stress, and Ryan was beaten so badly he ended up with severe injuries, including a concussion that landed him in the ICU. Reading this, my forehead throbbed with disbelief. Ever since my rebirth, so many things had veered off course. Just as I was processing the news, someone in the group suggested visiting them in the hospital. After all, we were classmates. They reasoned. I squinted at the screen. Of course, the instigator was none other than my seatmate, who sent me a cheeky dog meme. I responded with an exaggerated eye roll emoji, but he wasn't done. He sent a voice message, his tone dripping with mischief. "Come on, don't you want to see the aftermath with your own eyes?" His words struck a nerve. Of course, I wanted to see Ryan's sorry state. How could I not? A few of us agreed to meet at the hospital, but as soon as we stepped into Ryan's hospital room, the unexpected happened. He woke up. The moment his eyes landed on me, they lit up with an intensity I'd never seen before. "Sarah? Is that you? Sarah, I missed you so much." His voice cracked with emotion as he struggled to sit up, only to collapse back onto the bed, groaning in pain. Looking down at his injured body, then back at the people in the room, his expression grew dazed and confused. A sinking feeling crept over me. My brow furrowed. Don't tell me. Did he also get reborn? To test my suspicion, I shot him a look of pure disdain. Why are you calling me? Isn't your wife still recovering in another room after her miscarriage? His face twisted in shock. Wife? What wife? The only person I've ever loved is you. The room filled with the sound of my classmates' scoffs and murmurs of disgust. I felt the same way, shuddering internally at his words, muttering, "Disgusting." I turned and left without a backward glance. But the worst was yet to come. From that day on, Ryan clung to me like a leech, refusing to let go. At the place where I worked part-time, Ryan started waiting for me along the route to and from work. His constant presence wore on my nerves until I finally couldn't take it anymore. I stopped in my tracks and confronted him. "What do you want from me?" To my shock, he immediately dropped to his knees with a loud thud and crawled forward a few steps. He looked up at me with a desperate, pleading expression. "I already know what happened in our past life. I know you've been reborn, just like me. Can we start over this time? Please. I really love you. I swear. Last time I was just fooled by Emily. The truth is, you're the only one I've ever loved." As he spoke, his face lit up with anticipation. "Didn't you say before that you liked me the most? Back when we were in the orphanage. Remember? I always gave you the snacks I hid for myself." I couldn't stop myself from sneering. "And what about the things you said to Emily back then?" His eyes gleamed with hope. "That was only because I love you. I couldn't stand how cold you were toward me. I was using her to make you jealous. And besides," he added with an air of self-righteousness, "you scored so well on your exams this time because I dragged Emily down. Isn't that right?" The sheer audacity of his statement left me speechless. His tone was so smug, almost as if he believed he deserved credit for my success. My dislike for him deepened, solidifying into something unshakable. "You think my score was thanks to you?" I said, voice dripping with mockery. "Let me tell you, if it weren't for you and Emily jumping around in front of me like clowns every day, I could have done even better. Now, leave me alone." Without giving him a chance to respond, I turned on my heel and walked to the security booth at my apartment complex. "This man keeps harassing me," I told the guards. "If he shows up again, please call the police." Ryan's expression twisted with rage. He lunged forward, shouting, "You can't treat me like this. You're supposed to love me. How can you not love me? You even died for me in our last life. How can you be so heartless now?" His words didn't stir even the slightest emotion in me. The security guards, however, didn't hesitate. They held him back, clearly annoyed, and shooed him away, grumbling that he seemed mentally unstable. Under their watchful eyes, Ryan had no choice but to leave. I later heard he tried a few more times to bother me, but the guard's threat to involve the police eventually made him give up. I didn't see him again for 6 years. By then, I had graduated from university and started my own business. One evening, I was attending a banquet, mingling with other attendees and sharing light-hearted conversations, when a sudden commotion broke out nearby. Curious, I turned my head and saw 2 people entering the venue. One of my business partners nudged my shoulder and leaned in to whisper, "Do you know who those 2 are? They're infamous." Without waiting for my reply, he continued, "That's Emily Carter. She used to be a decent student, but ever since she got involved with that Ryan guy, her life's been a mess. She's been madly in love with him for years, going so far as to have multiple abortions because of him. Recently, she fell down the stairs and lost the ability to have children altogether." He smirked as he spoke, his tone dripping with disdain. "And that Ryan guy? Apparently, he's always been hung up on someone else. He didn't want to take responsibility for any of it. But Emily's family threatened to press charges if he didn't marry her. So, he finally gave in. What a pair of clowns." I turned to look at the pair, surprised by how much things had changed in the years since I'd last seen them. It seemed their relationship hadn't turned out as idyllic as they'd once flaunted. Naturally, they noticed me as well. Emily's eyes lit up when she saw me, and with her usual arrogance, she strutted over, dragging Ryan behind her. "Oh, look who it is," she said with a sneer. "Did you come here as your boss's +1? I see you've been working hard all these years. But for what? At the end of the day, you're still working for people like me. Wealthy people. Her gaze raked over me, her expression full of condescension. She clung to Ryan's arm as if to rub it in, then added, "You got into a prestigious university. But what's the point? You're still just a worker under someone with a high school diploma like me. And now, you're here hoping I'll grant you a business deal." The disdain in her voice was palpable. The assistant standing beside Emily was already on the verge of fainting, frantically gripping her hand to stop her from speaking further. Their pleading gaze turned toward Ryan, silently begging for help. But Ryan's eyes were fixed on me, full of resentment, as if blaming me for completely ruining his life. That moment, the host of the banquet finally appeared. He nodded in my direction, and I returned a polite smile, startled by my acknowledgement. He hurried onto the stage and began his speech, his eyes repeatedly darting toward me. After all, the only reason he had organized this event was to secure a partnership with my company. Meanwhile, Emily slid into the front row, gazing at him with reverence. Then, she turned back to me with a sneer. "See that? That's the most important business partner of our family. Only wealthy people like us can work with someone like him. People like you will never have that kind of opportunity." Ryan, on the other hand, sidled up to me and lowered his voice. "I've already gained control of most of the Carter family's assets," he whispered. "If you just humble yourself and admit you still like me, I can give you a special deal." His lips curled into a sleazy grin. "Just spend one night with me, and I'll give you a chance to collaborate. The rest depends on how well you perform." I stared at him, disgusted beyond words. How had I ever been blind and deaf enough in my past life to like someone as vile as him? Just then, the speech on stage ended, and the chairman quickly descended from the platform. Emily immediately assumed he was heading toward her, her face lighting up as she approached him with a smile. "Chairman, I'm Emily," she began, but her voice faltered as she watched, stunned, while the man she idolized bypassed her completely and walked straight toward me. With a warm smile, the chairman extended his hand to me. "Ms. Lawrence, having you here personally is an honor that truly elevates our humble event." Both Emily and Ryan froze, their faces plastered with shock and disbelief. The chairman turned to the crowd and introduced me. "This is Miss Sarah Lawrence, the largest supplier of raw materials to our company and our second largest shareholder. We have a 3-year collaboration plan in the works." Emily's and Ryan's expressions shifted multiple times as they struggled to process what they were hearing. Ryan, clearly more adaptable than I expected, quickly stepped forward with a charming smile. "Ms. Lawrence, we know each other. We were high school classmates." Emily also rushed forward, her face twisted into a bizarre mixture of desperation and forced humility. Yes, we went to school together," she added, grinning nervously at me. Ryan's earlier arrogance had completely vanished, replaced by a fawning expression. "Ms. Lawrence and I go way back. We grew up together. We were childhood friends," he said, trying to inject warmth into his tone. I raised my hand, cutting him off mid-sentence. He opened his mouth to say more, but the sharp glare from the chairman immediately silenced him. Smiling slightly, I addressed the chairman. "Isn't this banquet meant to celebrate the success of our partnership? Could we please have these irrelevant individuals escorted out? I don't like them." The chairman's expression darkened as he cast a cold look at Ryan and Emily. He signaled to his assistants, who quickly summoned security. Moments later, several guards arrived and escorted the pair out of the venue. Even as they were dragged away, their desperate pleas echoed through the hall. "Ms. Lawrence, please, give us another chance. Don't cancel the partnership. Without it, we're finished. Please, we were wrong." Their voices faded into the distance, leaving a heavy silence in their wake. I glanced around at the attendees, noting the wary looks directed at me. Smiling calmly, I raised my glass. "Let's not let irrelevant matters disrupt the atmosphere. A toast to our successful partnership and a bright future ahead." Relieved, the chairman eagerly raised his glass as well. "To our future collaboration." The shadows of my past were gone. From this moment forward, my future was wide open, filled with endless possibilities.